Welcome back, friends. This is the third video in section 2A. And don't let the length of this video intimidate you. There are 4 examples I want everyone to join me for. And then there are a few extras you can kind of pick and choose from if they seem like something you need to practice. So, conversion factors. Using conversion factors takes the guesswork and memory work out of the problem. There was a day I could do multi-step problems in my head, but at this point in my life, it doesn't work as well. And your brain's probably going 29 places at once, and so recording steps along the way, which dimensional analysis lets us do, keeps some of that memory work out and let you focus on just doing the simple math that's left. So another definition, a conversion factor is the statement of equality that we can use. So we said before we like to multiply by equivalent or fractions equal to 1. Here's how we do that. So for instance, I know that 12 inches is 1 foot, so I could use a conversion factor of 12 inches over 1 foot or 1 foot over 12 inches. I know that there are 24 hours in a day, so I could use the conversion factor 24 over 1 or 1 over 24. So from there, what dimensional analysis has me do is just multiply by fractions that are equivalent to 1. So we solved this one in example probably 4, but if I have 28 inches, what dimensional analysis has me do is right where I start. So that's what you got to do first. This is what I'm given. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply that by as many conversion factors as needed until I have the units I want and a new number. So the good news is you will be given or know most of your conversion factors. You are given this part of the problem. You are told what units you need at the end, more likely than not. So we're just going to do some multiplying and get a number. This intimidates a lot of people, but it really doesn't have to. So here my given is 28 inches. My conversion factors I need to figure out, and the units I want. So I'm going to end up with a number, and I want it to be in feet. So I start with what I've got. Well, currently I have inches. The one thing you'll have to remember is if I just have inches, that is a numerator value. And so to get rid of it, I need to divide, which means I need a denominator value. I need it to be in the other part of the fraction. And I actually know the relationship between inches and feet, so I'm going to put feet in the top. That means I only need one conversion factor to leave me with what it is that I'm after. Now let's put our numbers in. We know we need 1 and 12. Make sure the 1 and the 12 go in the correct spot. So 1 is foot, 12 is inches, right? 12 feet is definitely not 1 inch, but 1 foot is 12 inches. And this conversion factor has to be 1, and this way it is. So I multiply 28 times 1 over 12, and you can type this in your calculator a lot of ways, but you can type 28 times, and then you push that N over D button, and then in the top part, in the N, you put your 1, arrow down, in the D, you put your 12, and press Enter. The great thing about this is if you type it into a fraction this way, it's going to give you back a fraction. And that may be what they want. They may want 7/3 foot. They may want it as a decimal. If they want you to change it to a decimal, there is a white button on your TI Multiview 30 that has 2 arrows pointed this 2 ways. You can push it and it'll change that 7.3 to 2.3s with lots of repeating. And however you're asked to give the answer, you do it. So let's say they want it to 2 decimal places, 2.33. Now, we worked this one a lot shorter before, right? But we're practicing concepts. I don't care if you use it this way or the other way, but don't try to do this all in your head and then complain to me about how hard it is, okay? That sounds tough, but it's true. If the other method doesn't work, you try this method. If the other method does work, great, run with it. All right, let's work everyone's favorite problem. Okay, I lied. We make this one too hard just because there's a lot of steps. But remember, that's why we use dimensional analysis, is so I don't have to worry about 27 steps at once. I worry about the step I'm on. So convert the speed 60 miles per hour to a speed in meters per second. Now, distances per time is how we record speeds. Notice the last one is speed, distance per time. And mph is a speed, but it will be in your best interest to write it as a fraction and not as mph. So this is going to be 60. M is miles per hour. Remember, conversion factors says I start with where I'm given. Then I multiply by conversion factors. You have a lot of conversion factors to choose from here and orders, but at the end of the day, I need a number that is meters per second. And you've got to think about where you're headed. Right, I wouldn't just take off driving, not knowing where I'm going. I can get there a lot of ways, but I need to at least know where I'm going so I can make some good turns. Okay, so what I recognize first is currently I have miles and I want meters. So that's my first focus. So those are both distances, so there is a relationship between the two. Miles is in the top over here, so it goes in the bottom. Meters is what I want. And look, it's in the top and it's going to be in the top. Our problem tells us that 1 mile is really close to 1,609.3 meters. Great news. I'm not going to multiply yet, but I am going to mark that I have a miles in the top and the bottom, and that I now have meters, which is what I want. The other problem is I have hours and I want seconds. You may know how to convert between hours and seconds, but in my head, the first thing I thought of was hours to minutes. So hours is over here in the bottom, so I'm going to put hours over here in the top, and then minutes in the bottom, and come up with my numbers. I'm not giving you this conversion. I need you to remember it, that 1 hour is how many minutes? Good, it's 60. So that's going to give me not hours anymore, but minutes. But my goal is seconds. So let's fix this one more time. Minutes is in the bottom, so I want to put minutes in the top. I need a smaller unit, so I'm going to go to seconds. 1 minute is 60 seconds. Now I want you to try this in your calculator. Use that N over D button or parentheses to see if you can get 26.82 meters per second. If you're struggling with getting that, you aren't using your parentheses well, if I'm going to type this without the fraction button, I need to make sure that all of my numbers are in parentheses and that this is actually 60 that I start with and not 1 over 60. I've seen some people do some weird stuff with that at the beginning. And if you are not using parentheses, if you're using your N over D button, make sure that every value ended up in the correct part of the fraction. All right? If you're still not getting it, take a picture of what's in your calculator and send it to me and let me check it out. Next things next, if you keep missing these on your homework, make sure that you're starting out with writing it as miles over hours or whatever speed you've got over, like whatever distance over time, or you're going to end up with really weird answers that don't make sense. And we do want to explain our answers, but we also want to recognize in step 3 whether or not our answers make sense. The other type of conversion that's not everyone's favorite is converting between currencies. But if you've ever traveled, you've exchanged US dollars likely for something else. There is, these conversion factors are given. They're called exchange rates. Now, they may be different, like if you're at a bank in town than if you're at the airport, because the airport's going to try to screw you over. But exchange rates are given, and what we're going to use them as is conversion factors. Now, this table, though, is really interesting because it is conversion factor for lots of different currencies back to what we call USD or US dollars. So we're given 2 different values because one value right here is the amount of US dollars, see dollars, per, and then whatever the foreign amount is. So for instance, this number right here is the amount of US dollars per 1 peso. This second column is the amount of foreign dollars, well, it's not dollars, foreign currency per US dollar. So for instance, this tells me that 12.7 pesos is $1. Now you could do all of these with just one column, but you would have to decide between multiplication and division. And some people don't divide by fractions well. So what we're going to use is dimensional analysis and that'll going to tell us which column to use. People always ask me, how do I know which column to use the minute I start the problem? And I don't, okay? I am not a math genius. I've just figured out dimensional analysis is my friend. So let's work one. You've traveled to Japan with $250. How many yen can you get with that amount? So starting point is $250. Answer will be in yen. I need a conversion factor. So figuring out which row, I got it. This is my row, right? Figuring out which number, though, is going to be based on what my units are here in this fraction. So $250 is currently in the quote-unquote numerator, so I want to cancel them and put it in the denominator. This is a pleasant problem then, because I want to be left with yen, which means I need it in the numerator. So it's just going to take one conversion factor. Noticing here, this is then foreign per dollar. So I'm going to go to my column that's foreign per dollar, and that number is going to go right here, okay? This is per $1. So this is the number. The number is the number of foreign in this column per $1. Over here, this is the number of dollars per one foreign. So it's going to go in the numerator of your conversion factor. And then we multiply, and we get a pretty big number. It's like 20,000 and something. Let's round it to 833. Round however you're told in your answers. Okay, so a lot of people think I did something magical there, but I didn't. I started with what I was given. I figured out what units needed to be in my conversion, which led me to the correct column, which led me to the correct multiplication. Let's say an item is advertised for 410 British pounds. Oh, that's not a B, sorry, BP. And I want to know what that's going to be in US dollars. All right, I need a conversion factor. So here in the bottom of my conversion factor, if I don't want British pounds anymore, I need to divide by British pounds, so I need per British pounds. I want to be left with US dollars, so that's what's going to go in the top. Notice, US dollars could be in the top, or it could be in the bottom, whether I'm trying to convert from it or to it. So this is dollars per foreign. I need to come up here and find the correct value. I need to be in the British pounds row. I need to be in the dollars per foreign column, and that's going to give me 1.624. When I multiply those, I get $665.84 US dollars cents. $665 US dollars and 84 cents. Okay, so that is the conversion. Round as you're asked. You can do this by 410 divided by 0.6158, but it's going to give you an approximate answer because that's not what they expect you to use. So if you're using division and being told that you're wrong, it may be that you just end up with a slightly rounded different answer. And so that's why the multiplication is my recommendation. Okay? I'd love for you to go tackle your homework now. If during your homework you run across some more problems, here are 3 more problems that you can come back to at the end of this video. So if you need more practice with unit conversions, if you want more practice with weird word problems with lots of units, or just a simple conversion. Now, you may want to kind of test yourself and see if you can get the correct answers here. This is going to be $303.04. Oh, not dollars. Definitely not dollars. Sorry. How many? That would be euros. There we go. Units are important, right? This is $41. And this is 81216. That's not an 8, sorry. 600 seconds. Okay, so why don't you try those out? And if you miss any of them and you want to look at them, I'll work them at the end of this video. But you are free to head on to your homework. Good luck. Alright, if you're back or you didn't leave, let's work number 1. What I currently know is I have $400, so that's US dollars. I want to not have US dollars. I want to have euros because the question is how many euros? So in my unit conversion, a unit analysis fraction, conversion factor, whatever you want to call it, my US dollars has to go in the bottom. And I want euros in the top because I want to be left with euros. So that means I need to use the foreign per dollar value. So this will be 0.7576. I'm going to multiply that by 400, and that's where 303.04 comes from. I have to recognize that if I've got 400 US dollars, that's currently in the numerator, and I need to divide by it. I divide by it by putting it in the bottom of my conversion factor. All right? If you try to divide and you get close to the answer, remember, that just makes it mad. Don't do it. Oh, this one's fun. So let's say your car gets 25 miles per gallon. How much does it cost to drive 410 miles when gasoline costs $2.50 per gallon? Okay, this can be a unit conversion problem, almost dimensional analysis. Let's recognize what it is that we're really after. What we're really after is the cost per trip, right? The cost per 410 miles. So what you could do is find first the cost per mile and then multiply that by the number of miles. This will be a way a lot of people will work it, and that's great. I don't care if you use unit analysis as long as you can keep up with where you are. But be careful that you end up with cost per mile and multiply by miles, and you don't end up with miles per cost, which is really easy to do because I start with miles per gallon. So what am I going to do? Recognize that this can be a unit analysis problem and work it because it's fun. All right, so my goal is cost per trip. So what I'm going to start with is cost per gallon because that's the only thing I have that starts with cost. So I'm going to do $2.50 per gallon. Now, I don't have an actual gallon to a different type of volume, but I do have a relationship between gallons and something else. So looking back at our problem, in top of this dollars per gallon, the other place I have gallons is 25 miles per gallon. So I'm going to change this from price per gallon to price per mile. But be careful here because per 1 gallon is actually 25 miles, right? Now that would get rid of gallons, but it would leave me with cost per mile, and I want cost per the whole trip. So I know that 410 miles is 1 trip, which is good. It leaves me with the per, quote unquote, per division trip. And it leaves me with miles on the top, which will cancel with miles on the bottom. So then I can multiply this lots of ways. I can do 2.5 divided by 25 times 410. I can do this 2.5 times 1 over 25 times 410 over 1 with like divisions, or I can do this with my fraction, my n over d button on my multi-view. So I would multiply 250 times, press n over d, do a 1, do a 25, times, do n over d, do 410 over 1. And however I do that, I should end up with 41. If you are not a good parentheses rememberer, your multi-view fraction button may be your best friend here. Last bit of fun, how many seconds are 94 days? A lot, right? This is a great reminder of what to do when you're stuck. I don't know how many seconds are in a day. But what do I know? Well, I know that currently I have days, so I'm going to get rid of days in the denominator. And you just need to move to some kind of smaller unit, right? From days to seconds, smaller and smaller units. So, oh, I just told you I don't know seconds, but I said seconds, so I want to write it. I know days to hours. That's where I'm going to start. So 1 day is 24 hours. So now I have hours. It's in the top, so I'm moving it to the bottom. And what can I convert from hours to? You've seen it before, but I like to do hours to minutes. So 1 hour is 60 minutes. Now before we had 1 over 60, right, when I was converting a different direction. Now I have 60 over 1. It depends on where the minutes go and where the other units go. So currently minutes is in the top. That means I'm going to need minutes in the bottom. 1 minute is 60 seconds. And again, you can multiply this with parentheses, the fraction button, or because all of the values are in the numerator, I can just multiply straight across. All of my units have canceled. That's a terrible word, but we're going to use it except for seconds. So let me test my numbers again. 94 times 24 times 60 times 60 is in fact 81, 600 seconds. Okay. Now, stop being intimidating and go use your reasoning skills and work that